You are spending your life right now. Every hour you trade is gone forever. And the price you are being paid for it is not what you think. I know this because I spent 47 years sitting beside people who ran out of time, not reading about them, not interviewing them, not hearing stories secondhand, sitting with them in quiet rooms, in expensive rooms, in rooms where the walls were lined with wealth and the air was thick with regret. I watched 87 people die, and most of them were not afraid. They were disappointed. I was a private duty nurse for nearly half a century. I cared for executives, investors, business owners, politicians, people whose names were on buildings, people whose decisions moved markets, people who never waited in line. I lived in their homes. I slept down the hall from their bedrooms. I ate at tables large enough to seat 20 people, usually set for one. At 3 a.m, when the house was silent and the staff had gone home, I was the one holding their hands. And that is when the truth came out. I need to be clear about something before this goes any further. Money matters. Anyone who tells you otherwise is lying or has never truly lacked it. I grew up knowing hunger. I knew what it meant to choose between heat and food. I knew the quiet panic of unpaid bills and closed doors. Money solves those problems. But here is what 47 years beside the dying taught me. There is a point, and it arrives much sooner than you think, where money stops protecting your life and starts consuming it. Not because money is evil, because what you give up to get more of it is the only thing you can never replace. People do not die wishing they had earned less. They die realizing what they traded away to earn more. Let me tell you about Eleanor. Eleanor lived in a 12,000 square foot house, 7 bedrooms, a tennis court, a pool, a rose garden so large it required 2 full-time gardeners. Her husband had been a partner at a major Wall Street firm. By the time I met her, money had become meaningless to her. She could buy anything except what she wanted most. Eleanor was 78 and dying of heart failure. She had 4 children. In the 5 months I cared for her, not one of them visited. Not once. One daughter sent flowers from California. Twice. Eleanor would sit in her sunroom, staring out at those roses, and cry. Not about death. I raised 4 children, and now I'm dying alone in a house built for family. Near the end, she told me the truth. When her children were young, my husband and I, we were building our fortune. We worked constantly. They traveled constantly. They outsourced parenting to schools, camps, and caretakers. They believed they were securing their children's future. What they were actually doing was training their children to live without them. She said something to me I have never forgotten. I traded my children for money they do not even want. I gave them everything except myself. And now I am surrounded by beautiful things. One daughter sent flowers from California. Twice. They did not come to her funeral either. This was not an exception. It was a pattern. Different houses, different industries, different fortunes, the same ending. People believe they are making temporary sacrifices, but life has a way of making them permanent. They believe they are borrowing time from their lives and will pay it back later. Later never comes. I watched people with exact plans. Just a few more years, just one more deal, just one more promotion, just one more number in the bank. Then they would slow down. Then they would call more often. Then they would be present. Then they would rest. The money kept coming. The then never arrived. I gave them everything except myself. And now I am surrounded by beautiful things. What people do not understand is this. Life does not warn you when you have crossed the line from building a future to abandoning the present. By the time you realize it, the cost has already been paid. In the quiet hours before death, people did not talk about success. They talked about absences, missed dinners, unread messages, conversations postponed too long, love assumed but never confirmed. They talked about time and how little of it they actually spent where it mattered. You can feel this truth without being old. You feel it when days blur together, when weeks disappear into work, when you say soon and mean someday. Someday is not a date. The most dangerous lie people tell themselves is that their life is waiting. It isn't. It is happening now, and it is charging interest. You are still holding your life in your hands, trading it for money that will not hold you when the final hour comes. Let me tell you about the people I cared for after Eleanor. The lessons that each life whispered to me in the quietest, loneliest hours. There was Richard Harwood, a man whose empire stretched across the city like a living, breathing organism. He had started with nothing, a small workshop, a single employee, and a dream. Decades later, he had pet houses, private jets, and art that people spoke about in hushed reverence. But when I met Richard in 1982, someday is not a date. The most dangerous lie people tell themselves is that their life is waiting. It isn't. It is happening now, and it is charging interest. You are still holding your life in your hands, trading it for money that will not hold you when the final hour comes. Let me tell you about the people I cared for after Eleanor. The lessons that each life whispered to me in the quietest, loneliest hours. There was Richard Harwood, a man whose empire stretched across the city like a living, breathing organism. He had started with nothing, a small workshop, a single employee, and a dream. Decades later, he had penthouses, private jets, and art that people spoke about in hushed reverence. But when I met Richard in 1982, he was lying in his hospital bed in that Park Avenue penthouse. He was struggling to breathe through emphysema. A Picasso hung on the wall above his bed. Someday is not a date. And yet, as I adjusted his pillows, I could see the emptiness in his eyes. Vivian, he whispered, his voice hoarse, I spent my life chasing things. All I want is one more year with my wife. She had passed away 8 years earlier. His dream of retirement, of traveling together, had been frozen in time. Every dollar he earned, every hour he worked, could not bring back the moments he had lost. And when he died 3 weeks later, the wealth he had accumulated scattered like leaves in the wind, sold off by children who never knew the depth of what he had given them, himself. Then there was Margaret Hennessy, and she was different. Not because she had more money, she didn't, but because she understood what Eleanor and Richard had never truly grasped: presence. Margaret lived in a modest colonial in Stamford, Connecticut. Her house was small. I remember a room crowded with laughter, footsteps, and voices. She had chosen, with her husband, to never let a promotion or a raise steal their evenings. They turned down opportunities, knowing that the hours spent at home would be far more valuable than a larger paycheck. I watched Margaret in her last days, surrounded by her children and grandchildren, her friends and former students, all of them coming to sit with her, to talk, to laugh, and yes, sometimes to cry. She held her children's hands, their hands full of life, love, and memory. When she died, she left not an empire of objects, but an empire of hearts. That is the difference. But it wasn't always clear. Many people I cared for didn't know they were losing themselves until it was too late. I remember Beverly, a widow in New York, who had spent decades working late and missed time with her family. Many nights I worked to build a security net for her children. I accumulated savings, insurance, and properties. Yet, in the last months of her life, she sat in her bedroom, staring at the empty chairs across the dining table. I wanted to be sure they would never struggle. And now they won't even come to say goodbye. There was a pattern I could see, repeated in different cities, different homes, different people. Wealth could buy comfort, but it could not buy connection. And connection is the only currency that matters when the clock is running out. You might be watching this right now, thinking about your own life, thinking about your goals, your savings, the next promotion, the new car, the bigger house. I want you to pause and think of one thing. Are you postponing dinners, birthdays, weekends, phone calls, conversations you'll never get back? Because I have seen it happen over and over, 47 years of it, again and again. And the story is always the same. There was Mr. James Whitfield, who finally realized this at 42. After a close friend died suddenly, he calculated what he truly needed, a number, a sum that would cover his life comfortably, with security, emergencies, and a little room for joy. And then he stopped chasing deals. Are you spending your life in the pursuit of money while the people you love slip through your fingers? Stop letting work dominate his hours. He started being at the table with his children. Stop letting work dominate his hours. He started being at the table with his children. And he lived for another 49 years, rich not in things, but in moments. You too can make that choice. You can choose presence over production. You can choose conversation over conference calls. You can choose laughter over ledgers. But these choices are yours to make now, not someday. Someday is a lie the world tells you to keep working. You can choose conversation over conference calls. You can choose laughter over ledgers. I have watched men and women on the brink of life, surrounded by wealth and comfort, to keep sacrificing, to keep chasing a number that will not comfort you when your last hour arrives, but alone in ways that money could never reach. And I have watched others less wealthy but rich in love. You will realize the price you paid for wealth was your own life. I want to tell you one more story before this part ends. It is about a man named Walter, who had everything anyone could want. A home in Connecticut, a collection of cars, a private plane. But he had sacrificed his family for work, telling himself it was for their future. His children barely visited. Yet a nurse, someone who had no blood ties, sat with him, held his hand, and listened. Walter passed quietly, but he whispered something to me before he went. I have more than I could ever need, but I have nothing I ever truly wanted. That is the lesson I have learned in 47 years at the bedsides of the dying. Money ends, wealth passes. Possessions crumble, but presence, love, and connection are eternal. They are the only things that can travel with you when you leave this world. And now I want you to ask yourself, not your work, not your possessions, there is still time, but only if you stop trading your life for money. By now, you understand the price of trading your life for money. You have seen it in Eleanor, Richard. Who are you present for today? Who will remember your presence, not your paycheck? Margaret Beverly Walter. You know the truth. Wealth ends, possessions fade, money cannot hold your hand when you are alone. But here is the part that most people never hear. This is the part that can change your life today, right now. It is mapaprakmat na marakis, verluchos, istawap to still have faith, to hold hands, to create memories that cannot be bought. I want you to imagine something. It is your last hour, not next year, not next decade, but this very moment. Who is in the room with you? Who is holding your hand? Who is listening to your voice, feeling your presence, remembering you as more than a name on a paycheck or a number in a bank account? I have seen too many people spend 50, 60, 70 years chasing wealth, and in the end, the room is empty. No children, no friends, no laughter. And in that silence, they realize what they lost. And it is not the money, it is the moments. So let me ask you this. If you continue like this, working, chasing, sacrificing, what will you have to show when your final hour arrives? And if you do nothing, what story will your loved ones tell about you? Will they speak of your presence, your laughter? Will they speak of your guidance, your warmth? Or will they speak of absence, of missed dinners, missed phone calls, forgotten birthdays, and empty rooms? You can change that story. Right now, today, you can pick up the phone and your parents, your friends. You can write a note, plan a dinner, tell someone you care. These are the things that matter. These are the things that last. Because here is the ultimate truth. When you die, no one will remember your emails, your contracts, your earnings, your titles. They will remember your touch, your laughter, your presence, the warmth you gave. That is your legacy. That is your immortality. And now I challenge you. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Share this video with someone you care about. Like it if it reminded you what truly matters. Comment below with the person you will reach out to today. And subscribe, not for me, but for yourself, to be reminded that every moment counts. If you do this, if you take this step, you will be part of something greater than money. You will be part of a movement of people choosing presence over production, love over labor, moments over money. Your time is not guaranteed. Your life is not a rehearsal, and the moments you are ignoring today will never come back. I ask again, who will you hold today? Who will you tell I love you? Who will you show that you're remembered? To be loved, to matter is here in this moment. And when you act, when you pause, when you reach out, you are choosing life over labor, love over loneliness, and legacy over emptiness. This is your story. Write it with your presence, your voice, your love. And don't forget, share it, like it, comment it. And make sure those you care about see it, because this is a lesson they too need to hear. Because the truth is simple. Money dies, possessions vanish, but love, connection, and presence live forever.